There was nobody signed in to speak from citizens, so I apologize. If anybody wanted to, you still have a chance. No? Okay. Going once, going twice. Sold. We're going to start with CEO Star Award. Daryl?
Thank you, Craig. One of the things that I always love doing is recognizing our employees. And I have 3 employees to recognize today. We're going to start with Derek Flint. When I talk to the community and we talk about how safe our buses are, one of the things I always like to point out is our bus operators are mothers, their fathers, their grandmothers, grandfathers, their uncles, their aunts. They really look out for our customers every single solitary day. Derek has been with us. Derek, would you stand up for me? Derek has been with us for 10 years, and he was on his Route 41, and he saw a toddler just roaming the streets. And what Derek did is he pulled his bus over, he went over, he got the toddler, he brought the toddler onto his bus and waited for the police to come to get the toddler. I want to acknowledge Derek, and I want to thank him for what he does for our community every single solitary day. Derek, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to go and take a picture, too.
Yeah, if we could get a picture of you guys right over here.
So many prizes.
All right, you guys ready?
Yes. Why don't you get in the middle, Derek?
Take it in 3, 2, 1. More. Awesome. Thank you guys.
So you want to say anything?
Just that. I'm not about to speak loud enough. I just was blessed to be. God blessed me to be in that position, particular spot at that particular time. Get the kid out of harm's way because he was walking in the middle of the yellow lines. Wow, really? Right. So
Reunited with
shot me, and I did what I think me and him talked about it. What anybody would have done, I hope. So
Thank you.
no problem. Appreciate it.
I'd also like to celebrate Mike Weil. Mike, will you stand up? And Brett Isaac, would you stand up? These are 2 of our security guys that keeps an eye on all the streets and everywhere our buses travel. Recently, they assisted the Cincinnati Police Department. Their quick thinking to pull video actually helped in apprehend a suspect that was doing some pretty bad things. And without their quick thinking and pulling that video, that person may have never been apprehended. So I want you guys to come up, and I want to thank you for all the work you do for our organization and for our community.
And if we could get a picture of you guys right over there, that would be awesome.
No, thank you. You guys come over here.
He loves getting his picture taken.
All right, you guys ready? Ready.
One second.
Gotta get,
Open that thing up.
he's got so many of these he knows how.
Yeah, he knows how to do it. I'm a rookie.
Take it in 3, 2, 1. Well, thank you guys.
Thank you very much.
You guys want to say
Appreciate it.
This certainly was a team approach. I just like to thank just from our whole Metro team, this body for funding the ability for, we just had a new security camera system, and
this body approved the funding to be able to get the new security cameras, and it's really helpful to us. And I also like to thank all the way from procuring the equipment, from the planning of this, seeing that this was needed to be done, to my security team. Everybody helped out, so just thank you.
Right. Those things really make a difference. Right. So thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I want to thank all three of you guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. The community relies on us, and it's great that you do great things out there, so thank you. The first action item is approval of board minutes from September 26th. Rod, she wants to move fast here tonight. All right. Properly moved and seconded. Has any questions, concerns? All right.
Ms. Spiridan? Yes. Mr. Etheridge?
Yes.
Mr. Hinton? Yes. Mr. Cussy?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson? Yes. Mr. Smith? Yes. Ms. Taylor?
Yes.
And Mr. Bryce?
All right. Motion passes. Finance Committee update.
All right. Last week we met. We reviewed our monthly financial report. It was another positive report. We remain in good financial shape. Andy will give us a briefing a little bit later tonight. We also received an internal audit from regarding the Riverfront Transit Center. And the Riverfront Transit Center is owned by the city and operated by SORTA. The internal audit team made a few recommendations regarding process improvement and long-term care for the facility. We also received a recommendation from staff regarding the board's 2024 contribution to Everybody Rise Metro program. And Andy is going to give us an overview of that as well.
Thank you. Correct. The ERM board met last week after the SORTA Finance Committee. What we discussed in the SORTA Finance Committee, that in 2024, from an audit and legal perspective, we thought it'd be best practice for the SORTA board contribution to the ERM program to stay within the SORTA budget and act essentially as a SORTA expense, as opposed to taking the SORTA investment and putting it into the 501c3 just to come back out as bus pass expense. The question that the Finance Committee had was, have we briefed the ERM board about this potential change in 2024? We did do that last week. We got some preliminary feedback from that group. First of all, that group, ERM board, understands the change in contribution for 2024. They also understand that the 501c3 board will stay in place while there's still 501c3 money in that account. The projection is that we'll probably have $300,000 in the 501c3 account at the end of 2023. So it will take 6 to 9 months at the current spend for the 501c3 funds to be drawn down. So between now and then, there's plenty of room for discussion in terms of, does the 501c3 board continue? Does the 501c3 foundation continue? Or does it turn into an advisory committee of sorts? Again, plenty of room to do that, plenty of room to have those discussions. The feedback that we got from the ERM board, basically just a couple of questions. The first is there value in keeping the foundation even if SORTA isn't making a contribution to that foundation? Maybe the potential of a unexpected philanthropic gift or something like that. And the second, they asked us as staff to determine what are the back office and overhead expenses associated with maintaining the 501c3 status, and staff is compiling that information now. So a positive discussion. Again, we have time to figure out the details, and wanted to report that back to this board.
Who's from the board has done that?
We are. Yeah.
You're the only one from the
No,
board?
Sonia and I. Yep. Sonia and I. Craig.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I guess there's a question for the board to ask what the cost is because they don't incur it, right? But fair enough.
Correct, but I think part of it lends to the discussion of if we're going to continue this, even though there isn't money going into the 501c3, what is the expense overhead of that. Is it a lot? Is it a little? So we're compiling that information now.
Okay.
Who files the, what is it, 12?
The
Not the 990? Who files?
sort of staff does
Sort of
that.
staff files.
And
Therefore, there is a cost, minimal as it may be, if we're responsible for filing it.
Right, my point is it's not an ERM cost, so it's an interesting for that board to be asking that question,
Right,
but
right.
fair enough.
so the conversation continues, but it was all very positive.
Yep. Because it's still, the mission doesn't change at all, right?
Correct.
Okay. Did you have a question, Rod, or no? Something?
I was asking detailed questions about the draw and all that good stuff,
Yeah.
but she answered that.
Okay. All right. But it's good conversation. I know it's a good thing for the community, and we're getting more and more interest, and it's great, right? And we don't talk about it maybe as often as we should. So I like it when it comes back up.
And I would recommend we would, because I was curious as to why the draw was slow for a while. Is that need as great as it was at one point versus now? Should we be doing something else? So I'll just leave that.
Yeah, so we're supposed to get quarterly updates, right? So
Yeah.
Correct. And it was clear from the SORTA Finance Committee that they wanted us to assure the ERM board that there was full commitment from this body to maintain the program. This is really just a back office accounting best practice that we're trying to implement. And I think that was made clear at the board meeting of the ERM that the program will continue and under the same method that it continues now, and the recipients probably won't notice any change at all.
Right.
But from a technical perspective, we need to make an adjustment.
all right. Thank you. Anything else from finance? All right. Thank you. Oh, this is the long one. Planning and operations.
It won't be so bad. We had a great meeting last week. We had a great meeting last week. Very spirited. Kicked off with lots of good news, lots of awards from our leadership and throughout the organization. Probably too much to detail because we had a large number of procurement items. But before we get to that, there's a story playing out in the data that I think is also worth celebrating. So, Gwen, I don't want to take from you, but like employment numbers, staffing is going up thanks to your work and the work of staff and the whole organization. And so missed trips are coming down. They're below half of the high points last month, which was a significant drop. Very exciting. Ridership up. Now, the newer drivers, OTP continues to be a challenge. But it all makes sense what's happening, and it seems to be part of a plan that is really working for the organization. So I just wanted to note that. Ridership for Metro Now also continues to go up, but not the meteoric from last month, which is probably good, that it just doesn't shoot off into the stratosphere just for operational reasons. But, of course, we support all the ridership for that. So we also discussed all the work going on service quality and has been going on throughout the year and continuing that work moving forward. Happy to go through that in detail if you like, but I have to get to the action items. So they're all on the consent agenda, and I would move the consent agenda. I will just go through each one so everybody's aware of what they are. So first, we had a contract modification for our legal services, and that is just for the rest of the year, $188,000 increase modification. So then we have Queensgate column repairs, $212,000. There's lots of columns there. They're in disrepair. They need it. This is necessary.
They hold up the
work.
building. That's the kind of thing.
Yeah. So background checks for the next 5 years. We do this for all our employments. We have public announcement system. We were just celebrated safety and the work being done in.
Can I ask one question on the
Yeah.
background checks? It said 500 a year we do? It said 500 background checks a year?
Over
Over 500, and we hire how many people?
This year we hired 300.
Okay,
Um,
rolling up net 3. How many? I'm kidding. Sorry.
net 20.
Yeah.
So background checks, and then we have this public announcement system. This is primarily on our facilities. So if we have some sort of emergency, a fire, an active shooter or something, we have no way to communicate throughout the locations that there's something going on. So this will address that safety and security function.
Hey, Blake, I have
Yep.
a question. So as you think, so this is an expense, I don't know if you planned on, but it's come up as something that's essential that you have to do, right? Is there a capital schedule that we have of everything over a course of 10 years that we need to replace so that we are always budgeting for that?
Not for the course of 10 years. We do have a capital budget schedule. We are working to complete one for 5 years to really take a look at long-term sustainability of the organization. So we are working on a 5-year capital plan.
Yeah, and that'll be part of the budget that we review soon.
Yes, December.
Good. Later this month. Okay, this year.
And I think there is a challenge there. There's a lot that we would like to do, staff would like to do. A lot of it is the capacity to actually run those projects, run the procurement, and make sure that they're done.
I 100% get that. What I was thinking through those, how do we mitigate unexpected expenses? Because we're not going to see the dollars that we see every day right now.
Gotcha. Okay, going through, we also have the service quality monitoring. This is like a secret shopper writer on the system to give us some feedback on how we're doing. Bus pushers. I feel like we need a better name for that. Every time I read it, I imagine there's people behind the bus pushing it.
See, I thought it was somebody say, "Hey, you want to buy a bus?"
So, which could be good, but this is for moving the buses around. I imagine buses that are disabled in some way, so that we can work on them. The existing vehicles, if I remember, are 25 years old and past their service life. All right. So, onboard customer survey as well. And then we have electrical services. So this is a large number. I think it's a not to exceed of $2,573,000. That is a lot of electrical work. If anybody wanted to discuss that further, it is of note, but I am trusting that this is actually needed and deferred maintenance over time. We have vehicle digital display signs. This we discussed in more depth. These are the display signs on the buses. They also make announcements. This is a key way of interacting with our riders and ensuring their quality of their experience. Interestingly, this is a sole source award through Neo Rides. I did have some concerns. Are we choosing the best product for our riders? Staff assured us that this is very high quality and will improve our ridership through improving our rider experience. It is a substantial amount of money at $3.5 million, nearly 3.6. We have street sweeper service.
I think it's 10,000 a bus. Basically, is just to help you understand how you get there. Yeah.
2 signs. 2 signs on each bus.
And then a radio tower lease. So we're through all of those. They're on the consent agenda. If anybody would like to take them off for further discussion, these are important elements, all of them, for our operations.
Did you add up all the total costs?
The total cost is
it's at the bottom of it.
8.2 million. And important, sorry, I should have noted this. This brings us to 7.9 million on our diversity spend year to date.
right.
Probably moved.
Probably moved. On to a second. All right. Properly moved and seconded. Any other comments, questions, concerns? All right, Natalie, take her away.
Ms. Spiridon? Mr. Etheridge?
Yes.
Mr. Hinton? Mr. Cassie?
Yes.
Ms. Robinson? Mr. Smith? Ms. Taylor? And Mr. Bryce?
Yes.
All right, lots of good things happening.
Last note, planning and ops plans to continue to be engaging. According to our CEO, there will be plenty of items in the next few months. So please come ready to discuss
engage
them all
upon.
thoroughly.
All right, sounds exciting. Ms. Robinson.
Blake just gave my report. But I do want to commend the staff, Adrian's leadership. I do want to commend them for the work that they've done and the patience that they've given to this project. So I want to thank you for that. And interesting enough, it was really funny, and I'll allow you to share your information, but people are now coming up to me asking about applying, where before they hadn't, but now people are actually saying they would like to apply. So that's a good sign. So is there anything you want to add to the report?
No, I think, as Blake said, we've worked really hard. We've brought in over 100, hired and brought in over 100 operators. We've hired over 140, but not all of them have stayed. So that's been great. We've also added to our administrative and maintenance staff. That's where the 300
Yeah.
total. So we're just continuing to try to make sure we recruit good talent, working on retention. As we get that down, that helps us to move our number. So we're up from about June, about 35 operators, so that's a plus for us. And probably at the highest number we've had in a long time.
And what's your attrition, Adrian?
For about 14% this year compared to 17 last year. So.
Good, congratulations.
Going in the right direction.
And we're going to need more because we got more service coming. So
That's where all of us, and Brandy, thank you, we're all ambassadors for the organization, so, we need to always be on the lookout and advance the opportunities here. Talk about them. There are opportunities, and we need to share that. So thank you.
all right, any questions for Gwen? No, thank you. We also had a paratransit coordination committee meeting last week, and I think continuing to move forward on the 13-point plan. Do I have that right? 13 points, and really making great progress. A lot of the technology starting to come together. A lot of the focus on all the transit agencies starting first to coordinate. And you've heard me give my soapbox that I think this is the most impactful thing we can do in the region for the folks that most dearly need it. So really excited. I'll continue to push to go faster to get to single seat, but a lot of great stuff happening there too. Lisa also reviewed just the overall access performance, which continues to, we have demand there. There's opportunities. I know we're working to see how much Metro now can pick up some of that work, but I've asked that we bring back to the board at some point in the near future a discussion about what we want that service to look like and deliver. Right now, we tend to meet the government mandated minimums for our service. I think I said that right. So, that the day before, half-hour windows for pickup, ultra 2-hour ride, 2-hour bus rides, those kind of things, which I think understand how we got there, right? It's an expensive service to provide, one we're thrilled to do. But you end up with some, you have folks commuting 4 hours a day if they want to use the bus to get to work, and folks that are sort of have the most challenges with transportation. So I want to bring that back to the board. We can talk about it sometime before the end of the year, I hope. But great discussions, great dedicated staff there, and really excited about all the things we're doing that I think I'm using the right words here, Haled, nobody else is trying to do.
Much, yes.
There you go. So we're leading edge there. Okay. And then I guess just so folks know, right? The we're heading into the bargaining session, contract renewal time with the union. So we met to kind of get just a grounding of how that process is going to work. It's going to work like it has in past years, and I know that is getting ramped up. I think both management and the bargaining unit want this to go smoothly and quickly, and so we're looking forward to a healthy discussion that works out best for both the organization and all the employees.
All right. So we'll cover our financial report for September of 23. If we turn to slide 4, with September, a lot of the trends that we've seen over the course of 2023 continue, all positive. As Ms. Taylor mentioned, it was a positive month with respect to the financial report and the P&L. I'll hit a couple highlights. With respect to fare revenue, we continue on trend. September was a very good month with respect to ridership. We covered ridership in length at the Planning and Ops Committee. We had $1.2 million of passenger revenue on the Metro side. We accrued $251,000 on student fares and $56,000 on the access side. Again, a very strong month in ridership, which has resulted in a strong month for passenger revenue. On the next slide, when we look at our expense profile, it's been very similar as we've seen across 2023. We'll go into details on the next page. Total revenue was $24.1 million, which was favorable to budget by $4.3 million. Total expenses at $11.8 million, also favorable to budget by just under $1 million or 7.5%. Our surplus for the month came in at 12.4, which was favorable to budget by $5.2 million. We'll talk a little bit about some of the key drivers there. Ridership, again, total ridership 1.2 million, which was favorable by about 23%. We did cover in the Planning and Ops Committee that ridership continues to be very strong and continues in a positive trend. Talked a lot about how that relates to ridership trends across the country and how we're well ahead of the curve there, which is very helpful on the from a P&L perspective.
I think it was 35% over year on year, right?
Yes, if we go to the summary of the P&L, I think we were 35% over where we were at this time last year with respect to ridership. Some of the drivers with respect to revenue, again, operating revenue comes from ridership. Non-transportation revenue at $800,000 was favorable by $700,000, and this is, again, our investment portfolio in a strong reserve position that we have, generating quite a bit of investment income. County sales tax, this is the one kind of revenue point we want to talk about in a little bit more detail. It was unfavorable to budget by $100,000 or 1.1%. We'll show on the next slide how that's phased out over the course of the year. Federal grants at $11.9 million are favorable to budget by $3.4 million. This is another important point. It was discussed in the August meetings that September would be the last month that we'd be pulling down the coronavirus era relief funds, ARP, ARP2, so on and so forth. So this is a final true up of those federal COVID support funding that we've received over the last 3 years. And when you'll see the last quarter of the month, there won't be any ARP money in the budget in terms of revenue, which will put us a lot closer in terms of total expense and total revenue for the last quarter of the year. On the expense side, nothing too surprising here. Wages, benefits, right on plan. Fuel and lubricant was slightly under plan by 0.2%. The one thing that was not on trend was parts and supplies were under budget by $237,000, largely just a timing issue, and maybe hopefully some signs of supply chain relief. All other, as we've discussed in previous months, is favorable to budget by $757,000. Root cause of that being outside services, timing of outside services and consultant work, and also some of the capitalization of some of our BRT consultant work. If we turn to the last page, the one line that I would like to kind of zoom in here is on the county sales tax. We talked about we were $100,000 under budget for the month for county sales tax. And just to take one step back, these are the budgeted numbers come from the UC study that we've used. The UC Economic Center has broken out a projected sales tax for each of the 12 months of the fiscal year. As we scroll to the right, we'll see that over the course of the first 9 months of the fiscal year, that projection has been within 0.6% of actual. So when we think about 2024 and building the 2024 budget, we're again going to rely upon UC projections. They've been pretty consistent with reality here. And again, we've seen some variation month to month, but for the long haul, they've been very accurate. That concludes the financial statement, unless there are any questions.
I'm trying to get a handle on several things, but employee wages and benefits is favorable.
Slightly unfavorable, for $41,000 over budget, or 0.5%. That is for the month, but if we look at the year, trying to scroll here, if we look at the year, we're still favorable to budget by $2.2 million.
Okay, and then the other, you made a comment about one of our, I won't say favorable again, for consultant work that we hadn't budgeted for.
No, so we're
under budget.
great question. On the all other category, a lot of the consultant work that we do with respect to planning and project development is in there. The timing of that is not consistent for every 12 months, so we have some timing issues. Overall, we are well under budget. The second thing contributing to being under budget is some of the major study work that we have going on. We're able to pull that from the operating expense and capitalize it as part of the larger BRT project. So it won't hit the operating budget, it hits the capital budget.
Okay, but then I'm looking at the capital reserve, and we're pulling money out of that, or is that a swap? Or?
We actually, since we're so favorable with respect to revenue and expenses, we're putting money into the capital reserve. This month alone, about $12.4 million.
Okay.
You had said with parts and supplies, I guess that was unfavorable unless we receive some kind of relief.
Yeah. So parts and supplies have been running over budget in terms of expense. They've been more expensive than we had budgeted for the first 8 months of the year. We've seen a lot of issues, and Mr. Munstock can probably answer this better than I can. Vehicle parts and supply parts have been expensive, and the supply chain has been tricky. This is the first month where we've actually been under budget in terms of expenses with supplies. So I think it's mostly a timing issue. I don't know, Jeff, if you want to speak to parts and supplies for September.
Yeah, it's mostly a timing issue. And, what we find is trying to find vendors, and through our competitive process, the price of parts have just gone up. And within the last month, we've kind of trended away from that, doing better with finding the right product and that kind of thing. So the whole market itself, what we forecast at the beginning of the year, has fluctuated even in the last 9 months, 10 months. So it's just something we're kind of chasing and trying to build a better budget for next year and forecasting what those parts prices are going to be.
Yes, I remember. Did we just approve a different vendor for parts?
No.
No, it's a daily RFQ process for parts. So we reach out to vendors daily. So there isn't one sole vendor for parts.
This is not because you have extra inventory in past months, and now you're using that inventory. This is something, the prices went down for the parts.
So
Sorry. Not somewhat. It like I said, it fluctuates of what we charge them out based off our usage. So as we use them from the storeroom to put on the bus, that's when it gets charged out to the cost center. So in the recent month, the price hasn't changed. It's just the usage has gone down in the past month. But for the year total, we've been trending, the price of it has been up of the product. But the last month, the usage has dropped, which is mainly the reason for the favorability in the last month.
I hadn't noticed this before, but I just saw it. Sorry if everybody understands this. We're favorable to budget on the ARP funds. Did something change about that?
I can talk a little bit about that. So at the beginning of 2024, when we were constructing, at the end of 2023, when we were constructing the 2024 budget, right? So if we go back to November of 23, of 22,
22.
I'm sorry. I'm
Okay.
always thinking ahead here, right? Okay, so if you go back to the end of 2022, when we're creating the 2023 budget, we had to estimate where we thought we would be at the end of 22 with respect to the spend of ARP funds. So the estimate was then put in, what we thought would be remaining was what was put into the 23 budget. Well, we didn't spend all that we had planned in 22. And so the budgeted figure was lower than was actually on the shelf with ARP. And we've pulled all of that money down. And there's now the ARP balances are all zero. And at the end of the day, that wound up being over more than we had budgeted for. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yep.
Blake, I'm sorry. I know you explained this when I missed the meeting on Tuesday. Can you just tell me why the additional $180,000 for legal expense?
My understanding is that this has to do a lot with labor work.
That's about what they were anticipating?
Right. Budgeting for the next 2 months, of that's when all the work will happen.
Yep.
Yep. And I guess they can't hear you in the back because you're not talking on the microphone, so they get upset if they can't hear you, as one can imagine.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I tried not to ask because I wasn't at the meeting.
Yeah. I asked anyway before the meeting.
I was there and I still would ask.
Patient did not. So, come up since, and I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah. Great. And, continued strong management of the financials. And then I know that, that part of our organization is probably stressed out a little bit, being understaffed, but great work. And it's one thing I would say, other is a pretty big number that we lump a lot of things in there. So I'm guessing there's some things that you could break out that are bigger than some of the other line items we do. So I think continuing to look at how to share that information effectively makes a lot of sense. Okay. Any other questions for Andy? No? All right. Thank you, sir. Metro on the move.
I have a couple of items
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to discuss. We are doing a customer survey, and we've surveyed over 1,800 customers. There were 25 questions we were asking them. We will bring the complete survey back to the Planning and Ops Committee. But one of the things I'd like to share from that survey is that 30% of the people that we surveyed said they have been using the bus for less than 2 years. So think about it. As we look at, we're over 100% of our pre-pandemic ridership in comparison to the rest of the country is at about 70%. I'd like to take my hat off to Khaled and his team and Brandy and her team for the planning and scheduling of the routes and for the marketing that we do to reach the people, not just that ride, but the people that haven't ridden our bus. And to think about 30% of the people that we surveyed said they are new riders. So congratulations to both of them.
We have riders and future riders. Those are the two things we have.
That's exactly right.
I'm curious, since the streetcar went free and their ridership is also at levels they've never seen, is there a correlation, do we know at all, between people learning how to do transit on that and it's coming over to us?
The rising tide lifts all boats, so I'm sure there's some, but the streetcar ridership is a lot different than the bus ridership, so I don't know that there's a lot. As they do their customer surveys, we'll make sure we get the results of their customer surveys, and we'll kind of compare the two and see where there's some synergies and where there's not some synergies. But again, the rising tide lifts all boats, so it's good for transit that people are using transit. You're exactly right.
Right. I look at the streetcar as a circulator, much like Portland, just it circulates in the inner city. And then you look at Metro is regional.
Connection.
We're spread out. So I just see the streetcar as a circulator. So it should be two different clients. Could be people working downtown just happen to go.
There'll be some crossover,
Yeah.
but they're basically two different types of transit.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it is an interesting discussion, though. What does free do? And as we talk with employers and things like that, right? If there's a demand, because if that was $1 to ride what was it before?
It was $1.
So, that had a big effect. I'm sure it's a question we should look at someday as we work through the future for us too.
At the after conference, there was a organization there presenting on going free on their buses.
And if you did, Kansas City, when they won the System of the Year.
Yes.
That Daryl's not bitter about at all anymore.
Not at all. I think he just called me out.
Yes. Yes.
Also, I know this is the third time we've said it, but congratulations to Andy, Adrian, John, all of those that have worked diligently to get our operator count up. We are at a record number of operators. We currently have 521 operators from a low this year of 479. So we actually are making progress. And I am happy to say, unless all heck breaks loose the last week of this month, this should be the lowest month of missed trips this year. So we're making some progress.
Halfway there.
I'd like to thank the Ohio Department of Transportation. We were awarded another $1.3 million from ODOT to be used towards the purchase of additional Metro Now vehicles, as well as our bus stop enhancements that we have coming. Election Day is coming up in November. We will be free for Election Day for all of those that want to ride the bus on Election Day, to give them access to going out casting their vote. All of our services, Metro Now, Big Bus, access will all be free on November 7th. This month has been overwhelming, the number of community leaders that have recognized the work that we're doing. I'd like to recognize this board. This board put a levy on in the middle of put a levy campaign on, and we went to the ballot in the middle of COVID. And the results of what that has done, the community has recognized how important transit is and the amount of recognition that we've gotten. I'll name a few. Tara Walker was recognized by the Cincinnati Business Courier with the Climb Award for success in advancing DBE programs, inclusion, and vendors. John Ravazio was a finalist in the COO category, C-suite for the Business Courier. Congratulations to both of them. There is one more that is coming we'll tell you about next month. Brandy was recognized. She got the highest award from the Public Relations Society of America that they give out. What we are doing here is being noticed by the region that we serve, as well as the rest of the country. So hats off to the people that work here at Metro, from every driver to every mechanic to every leader here to every person that answers the phone or takes care of our customers. Congratulations. And last week, we spent time, our employees spent time raising funds for breast cancer awareness. This month, we'll be working on United Way and community shares. And that is my report.
Thank you. You obviously missed a part, right?
Right.
That Daryl won for the large nonprofit category. Is that right?
Yes.
The CEO Award of the Year from C-Suite. So congratulations to Daryl. Certainly well deserved.
Also honored by the Ohio Latin Commission, and I received that award a few years back.
Okay.
And I know the honor of it, especially when you are not Latino. To get that award says a lot about you. So congratulations on receiving that award. It is a high honor that comes out of that community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly. And so proud of the work you're doing, and keep doing it. And those that may have missed him, he was on the That's So Cincinnati podcast a month ago or so. Fun stuff.
Brandy is working me hard. I just want to put that out there.
And I do have one question since you brought it. So Metro Now, I know we haven't looked at the schedule for a little while. There's vehicle challenges and things. What is the next phase of that, right, in our thinking?
Thank you. So
we were waiting for the surveys to be complete on Metro Now, which was just complete about a week or so ago. The staff is looking, reviewing the results. Some of the questions were pointed questions like, what exactly do you like, what you don't like. Some good feedback, quite a bit of feedback regarding the fares, the service area, and so on. So all of that will be discussed internally. And we're looking at expanding maybe a couple of the existing zones to serve destinations that passengers identified as important destinations. So we're looking at everything right now. Probably within the next 4 or 5 weeks, we'll make a decision in terms of all of these changes, recommendations, and moving forward with implementing the other 4 zones. The biggest hurdle would be the vehicles. So far, we know that it's going to take about a year to get the vehicles. We also submitted on a grant to cover some of the vehicle costs. So we're hopeful that we'll get some money to pay for some of these vehicles.
So we'll push the manufacturer and see how close we can get on dates, because it's the only thing holding up the next 4 zones. We're continuing to hire operators, and we'll bring back to the Planning and Ops Committee estimated dates for the next vehicles.
Yeah, no, I know there's just a lot of excitement as folks see this growing and working, that more folks are going to want it. Right? So, all right. Any questions? Okay. Any new business anyone wants to bring? Okay. The schedule for next month has moved up because of the Thanksgiving holiday, so just remember that. And I know, do we have a quorum on voting on election day or no?
Those are committee days, so
So we
quorum
haven't-
is not
But
required.
do we have
Enough people, yes.
So sorry, it's hard to change the meetings, and you lose as many people as you gain when you do. So we want everyone to vote. We're supporting it as a system, but otherwise, we'll adjourn. Thanks, everyone.